And if you know anything about Donald Trump, then you know that he loves feeling like a king. And so what do you give a king? Well, you give him a palace in the sky.
Mr. President, what do you say to people who view that luxury jet as a personal gift to you? Why not leave it behind?
You're ABC fake news, right?
Why
Because
not?
only ABC, well, a few of you would. Let me tell you, you should be embarrassed asking that question. They're giving us a free jet.
So we've all heard about the whole Trump and plane that's being gifted to him by Qatar, but they're making a justification by saying it's not a gift. For anyone that thinks that this doesn't look like corruption, you have not read the book Animal Farm, have you? But even some of Trump's own people, some people that have justified every little thing that he does, and the person I'm talking about specifically is Laura Loomer. Even Laura Loomer is calling this a conflict of interest on just the optics alone. It looks bad. So listen to what Laura Loomer had to say on X. She says, "I love President Trump. I would take a bullet for him. But I have to call a spade a spade. We cannot accept a $400 million gift from jihadists in suits."
Damn!
She follows that up with, "The Qataris fund the same Iranian proxies in Hamas and Hezbollah who have murdered U.S. service members, the same proxies that have worked with the Mexican cartels to get jihadists across our border. This is really going to be such a stain on the admin if this is true. And I say that as someone who would take a bullet for Trump. I'm so disappointed." Yeah, so it would seem like people are actually weighing in heavy. That's not what that says. Do you remember this clip from 2017?
The nation of Qatar, unfortunately, has historically been a funder of terrorism at a very high level. And in the wake of that conference, nations came together and spoke to me about confronting Qatar over its behavior. So we had a decision to make. Do we take the easy road, or do we finally take a hard but necessary action? We have to stop the funding of terrorism. I decided, along with Secretary of State Rex Tillerson, our great generals and military people, the time had come to call on Qatar to end its funding. They have to end that funding.
Yes, because the well-known assumption is always leaned towards Qatar having heavy ties to terrorist organizations. But to be fair, they do say every person has a price. And if you know anything about Donald Trump, then you know that he loves feeling like a king. And so what do you give a king? Well, you give him a palace in the sky.
Jet as a Mr. President, what do you say to people who view that luxury jet as a personal gift to you? Why not leave it behind?
You're ABC fake news, right?
Why
Because
not?
only ABC, well, a few of you would. Let me tell you, you should be embarrassed asking that question. They're giving us a free jet. I could say, no, don't give us, I want to pay you $1 billion or 400 million or whatever it is. Or I could say, thank you very much. You know, there was an old golfer named Sam Snead. Did you ever hear of him? He won 82 tournaments. He was a great golfer. And he had a motto: when they give you a putt, you say, thank you very much. You pick up your ball and you walk to the next hole. A lot of people are stupid. They say, no, I insist on putting it. And then they putt it and they miss it. And their partner gets angry at them. You know what? Remember that, Sam Snead. When they give you a putt, you pick it up and you walk to the next hole and you say, thank you very much.
Respectfully, sir, as a businessman, some people may look at this and say, have you ever been given a gift worth millions of dollars and then not received anything?
It's not a gift to me, it's a gift to the Department of Defense. And you should know better, because you've been embarrassed enough, and so has your network. Your network is a disaster. ABC is a disaster.
Here is what it looks like. Yeah, it's nice.
It's
But
real
what
nice.
about the national security concerns? Is it safe?
What security concerns?
Is it bugged? How long will it take for Secret Service
It doesn't matter. Are you seeing these seats?
to double check all of that? And what about the ethics? What is Qatar getting in return for this giant sum of money, this giant gift? A photo op, a handshake, a golf course, a feeling of warm-hearted goodwill for an ally?
Are you saying that Qatar is only giving this gift because they actually want some favors done in return from Donald Trump? I mean, next you're going to tell me people like Ben Shapiro have a problem with this.
You just don't get it, do you? You don't.
Let's start off with this. Qatar is not allegedly giving President Trump a $400 million jet out of the goodness of their sweet little hearts, no matter what Special Envoy Steve Witkoff says. They try to stuff money in pockets in totally bipartisan fashion. Just rewind a few years. While Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State, Qatar gave $1 million to the Clinton Foundation for Bill Clinton's birthday and didn't even bother to inform the State Department, as they promised they would do. So, again, Qatar will court anyone it thinks will have power, Republican or Democrat. It's an equal opportunity influencer, as long as you can help whitewash their image or smooth over the fact that they are, in fact, the world's largest proponents of terrorism on an international scale in terms of PR and in terms of putting money in pockets. Qatar likes to present a modern Western-friendly face while shoveling money to Islamic terrorists under the table. This is a regime that has, for literally decades, funneled billions of dollars into the hands of Hamas, Hezbollah, the Taliban. We're talking about systematic, ongoing financial support that has strengthened Hamas's grip on Gaza, provided them with the resources, and yes, enabled terror attacks that killed innocent civilians. Doha,
Now, you know he has personal stakes in this, right? Just saying.
which is the capital, their five-star hotels are basically a retirement home for Hamas leaders. Qatar has been credibly accused by the Treasury Department, by international watchdogs, by regional allies, of allowing financiers of al-Qaeda, ISIS, and the Muslim Brotherhood to operate within its borders. This is a country that has repeatedly failed to crack down on terrorist financing, even after being pressured by the United States and its neighbors. In 2017, former Defense Secretary Robert Gates said, quote, "I don't know instances in which Qatar aggressively goes after networks of Hamas, Taliban, or al-Qaeda." Qatar has, of course, transferred almost $2 billion to Hamas over the years, which, again, is one of the reasons it's so sick to send Idan Alexander to meet with the Emir of Qatar, if that's a thing that ends up happening. Taking sacks of goodies from people who support Hamas, the Muslim Brotherhood, Al Jazeera, all the rest, that's not America first. Like, please define America first in a way that says you should take sacks of cash from the Qatari royals who are behind Al Jazeera. It just isn't.
Easy. This is not sacks of cash. He took a plane, and on top of that, he said it's going in the library. So this is the justification they're going with.
America first in any conceivable way. So back to the original question. Is this good for President Trump? Is it good for his agenda?
No.
Is it good for draining the swamp and getting things done? The answer is
the swamp
no, it isn't. It
You are
isn't.
the
If you
swamp.
want President Trump to succeed, this kind of skeezy stuff needs to stop. And here's the thing. It's already having an impact. It's already having an impact. Quick example. Last week, the Senate considered a procedural vote on the so-called Genius Act. This is an act that should have had wide bipartisan support. The Genius Act helps deregulate the crypto industry, an area that's vital for America's economic development. As you all know, I'm a big fan of crypto. I own Bitcoin, some Ethereum. If you want to watch me explain why crypto is fascinating and useful, check out my YouTube video on the subject. And I know a ton of people in the crypto industry who've been ecstatic about President Trump's deregulatory approach to the subject, which is awesome. But the bill was shot down last week because, at least in part, Democrats said they wouldn't vote for the thing because of President Trump's use of crypto himself. You all remember President Trump launching $Trump crypto 3 days before taking office as president. Trump himself announced the Trump crypto on X and Truth Social. He described
And the Trump Bible, and the Trump guitar, and the Trump trading cards.
it as a meme coin, meaning it had no inherent value. It was just there for the kind of bleeps and giggles. The price spiked to a trading value of nearly $13 billion, making it the 19th most valuable cryptocurrency on planet Earth. And then it proceeded to plummet, like really, really dive. The project allegedly netted people.
Yeah, this is what he's talking about right here. See the price when he first opened, and then this huge plummet. But regardless, though, what he's actually talking about is the regulation that you're trying to pull back in regards to crypto. It makes it look like you can't be impartial because you have a conflict of interest. Why? Because you're financially involved. You're financially tied to this very same thing that you're now deregulating. So you have some stakes that you really shouldn't have. So in all actuality, they were right for shutting that down. Let's get back to Ben, though.
To plummet, like really, really dive. The project allegedly netted people associated with it, meaning the Trump organizations associated with the Trump crypto, some $350 million. 80% of the outstanding supply of that meme coin is still held by insiders, presumably members of the Trump organization. Overall, according to data shared with CNBC, there were 2 million wallets that bought that Trump meme coin. 764,000 of them lost money. 58 wallets made more than $10 million. And then in April, that Trump meme coin announced that the top 220 holders of the meme coin would be invited to an intimate private dinner with President Trump at his golf club. The top 25 were invited to a VIP White House tour. According to Bloomberg News, 19 of the top 25 holders of that Trump meme coin that have registered on the website's leaderboard have bought the coins using foreign exchanges that claim to exclude U.S. customers, which means that foreigners are buying a lot of the meme coin and then getting meetings with President Trump, like VIP White House tours and all the rest. This raises the question of influence peddling. If you basically buy a bunch of Trump meme coin and then funnel money to organizations associated with President Trump, so that you can have dinner with Trump. That doesn't look great.
You're being awfully charitable. If this was Biden, and I hate to really use that example, but if this was ever Biden that had done that, you know you'd be calling for impeachment right now.
Senators, of course, immediately announced that they wanted an ethics probe. They sent a letter saying, quote, this latest action raises grave ethics and legal concerns, including the severe risk that President Trump and other officials may be engaging in pay-to-play corruption by selling presidential access to individuals or entities to include foreign nationals and corporate actors with vested interests in federal action while personally enriching the president and his family. It might be overstated, but let's be clear. Some people do seem to be investing in the Trump meme coin for the access. I mean, there was literally a CEO of a company called Freight Technologies that just bought $20 million worth of Trump meme coin, which I got to say is not like the most solid investment. What was the explanation? Quote, we believe the addition of the official Trump tokens are an excellent way to diversify our crypto treasury and also an effective way to advocate for fair, balanced, and free trade between Mexico and the United States.
I just always find it a little bit funny to figure out what it is that Fox Business decides to cover and what they don't. These are some of the stories that they spoke about within the last 2 days. Remember, we played a video earlier about what it is that he had to say about the leadership in Qatar, who it is that they have ties to, the level of corruption that they feel are there. But now with this quote-unquote gift, it almost seems like he's changed his tune.
Ridiculous. And it ended up being a total mess, a real mess. And when I came back, I said, by the way, what's going on with the Boeings that are coming in? Well, sir, they're way behind. And they are. They're way behind. They were way behind. Another mess that I inherited from Biden. And it's going to be a while before we get them. And I think Qatar, who has really, we've helped them a lot over the years in terms of security and safety. I think they, and very, very nicely, and I have a lot of respect for the leadership and for the leader, Qatar. And I think they knew about it because they buy Boeings. They buy a lot of Boeings. And they knew about it. And they said, we would like to do something. And if we can get a 747 as a contribution to our Defense Department to use during a couple of years while they're building the other ones, I think that was a very nice gesture. Now, I could be a stupid person and say, oh, no, we don't want a free plane. We give free things out. We'll take one, too. And it helps us out because, again, we're talking about we have 40-year-old aircraft. The money we spend, the maintenance we spend on those planes to keep them tippy-top is astronomical. You wouldn't even believe it. So I think it's a great gesture from Qatar. I appreciate it very much. I would never be one to turn down that kind of an offer. I mean, I could be a stupid person say, no, we don't want a free, very expensive airplane. But I thought it was a great gesture. And I think it was a gesture because of the fact that we have helped and continue to, we will continue to, all of those countries, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Qatar, and others. We keep them safe. If it wasn't for us, they probably wouldn't exist right now. And I think this was just a gesture of good faith. And I don't get it. Someday it'll be like Ronald Reagan. They decommission them. You know, they get to a certain age, they decommission them. It'll go to my library. They're talking about going to my library in years out. But I thought it was a great gesture.
You know, it is possible that sometimes they don't just give you a gift because they want you to do something. Sometimes they give you a gift because they just want you to stay out of their business. Whatever it is that they're about to do, they just want you to turn the other way. That's all.
Now he's a philosophizer.
And it's something that was done by Ronald Reagan. They actually decommissioned the plane and he put it in his library. And it actually has made the library, I think, a Boeing 707. It's actually made the library more successful. So it was good.
Do you plan to use the plane after you leave office?
No, I don't. No, it would go directly to the library after I leave office. I wouldn't be using.
In Animal Farm, the pigs all said that we're not going to sleep in the beds, not in the beds of a human. And then they changed the rules. But if he's saying that they're not going to use that plane, that does mean that he's going to accept it as a gift. The Foreign Emoluments Clause, it states, no title of nobility shall be granted by the United States, and no person holding any office of profit or trust under them shall, without the consent of the Congress, accept of any present, emolument, office, or title of any kind whatever, from any king, prince, or foreign state. You know what that means? There is actually a way that he can get this plane. You would just need to go through Congress. But when you've done everything in your power to make Congress, for lack of a better term, irrelevant,
Damn!
And as polarizing as this whole plane situation is, listen, you have Laura Loomer now calling you out for the second or third or fourth or fifth time now, from what I understand anyway. So I think that he knows that if he actually did try to do this the proper way and go through Congress, it might not just be him accepting this plane. It might take years upon years because, you know, Congress moves slow. But what are your thoughts, though? Corruption? No, or this is just Trump playing another 6D underwater chess? Hey, if it produces liberal tears, you know MAGA will explain this away. There's no corruption here. They're just trolling the libs. Whatever your thoughts are, leave them in the comment section. If you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to drop a like, and I will see you again on the next one. Be easy, y'all.